Let's talk about how I evolved this front yard garden to be a drought-wise, full sun loving space. Welcome to Joy in the Garden. This garden bed started with these 3 green velvet boxwoods. Since then, I have added probably 20 more green velvet boxwoods to my property. So they are definitely the most mature plant that I have in this space. Probably about 5 years later, I added the 3 green velvet boxwoods behind here. I knew I needed some kind of backdrop because every time I was trying to plant things here, I just felt it needed the green in the back to make it look better. Now these boxwoods that are back here are almost the same size as the ones that are 15 years old. So for about 10 years, the only shrubs in this space were the green velvets. And about, 5 or 6 years ago, I thought, it's time to invest. I just felt like I was out here watering all the time. And things would really, even with all the watering, would look really raggy by the end of July. So I added Glow Girl Spirea. This right here is the first one that I added. It was only about a foot tall the first year. And then eventually, I added the one that's back here. And then a couple years ago, I added this one. And although it may seem like a really simple thing, the addition of those 3 shrubs and how they play off each other and move your eye throughout the landscape was key. Then about 4 years ago, I'd say, I discovered lamb's ear. I knew what lamb's ear was, but I always thought it produced these weird flowers and stuff. I wasn't really sure. And then I came across this Helen von Stein lamb's ear. And it was really at a time where here in Iowa, we had gone through a few years of really droughts in our summer. And it was just really tough. You couldn't even keep things watered appropriately. So I started adding lamb's ear. And even though I will say lamb's ear, you do have to keep it in check. You really have to, I pull it out on a regular basis to keep its size in check. But it's a beautiful rosette shape and it needs nothing. It needs nothing. It brings color, it brings texture, and it is low maintenance. Then along came the Millennium Allium. Changed my gardening world. I probably have about 5 of them in this front area. They're beautiful when they bloom, but honestly, their structure is just absolutely gorgeous as well. A couple of years ago, I discovered Bubble Bath, which blooms earlier than Millennium. And then I've recently added Lavender Bubbles, which blooms later than Millennium. And slowly, between the shrubs and the perennials, it started to fill the space that I used to have annuals. And I started to just feel more structure, round and flowing, and it just started to come together. Then I actually added a couple peonies, which might seem like a very strange thing for you. Like, what are you adding peonies for? I knew peonies were low maintenance. I wanted more peonies. And like this peony right here, this is bloomed, but it's beautiful right there. It just adds structure and really nice separation. This is an Itaw peony Bartzella, but just look at the structure of the leaves and how they look in front of the green velvet boxwood. And in front of there, the allium. And it just starts to create structure and balance with all of the other color that's in the bed. Salvia is another perennial that's very drought tolerant. I typically have had the Rose Marvel variety, which actually is out of bloom in the back there, but recently added the Back to Fuchsia variety right here. Both very drought tolerant, no extra water needed. And this spring, I added the latest drought tolerant perennial, phlox. This is the opalescence variety. I have 3 there. And then I added the ultraviolet variety in the back. They're both from the Luminary series. So all these perennials, salvias, phlox, alliums, lambsir. All of them are drought tolerant. And when we don't have a lot of rain, I never worry about watering them. Let's talk about the annuals that are really drought tolerant. This is a cleome, Senorita Rosalita. It's a proven winner's variety. It does not produce seed, so I purchased this as a plant. There are 3 plants there. This is absolutely the best annual I have ever discovered, ever. It is so drought tolerant. It's perfect behind these Concord barberries here. It will get about right below this limelight standard tree here. That's how tall they will grow. There's also a white variety that's beautiful. I haven't tried it, but it is beautiful as well. The annual salvia, so drought tolerant, so simple, so easy. I am not going to have to do anything to these salvias all year long. Just extremely, extremely drought tolerant. Now this is the first year I've had, this is a tall blue planet ageratum, and I have not given it any additional water. We have had good rain this year, so I don't think I've really tested this one, but I do believe it will end up being drought tolerant. And right down here, lantana, so drought tolerant, absolutely wonderful, much more drought tolerant than verbena, and has some similar structures. So, you know, you can find the right annuals for your drought tolerant gardens. This is the first year I have added verbena in front here. I did have lambsir in front, but I really felt it was really crowding the bushes behind it. So this year I added the pink cashmere super verbena, and it's beautiful. Now I have not had to provide it extra water, but I will keep an eye on this. So I probably do fertilize this when I fertilize the petunias, maybe once every 3 weeks. So I don't fertilize it as much as I do the petunias, but it's a beautiful, beautiful color. And I think this is just going to be really gorgeous by the end of the season. Now we also have sweet potato vine, which to me is very drought tolerant. I never really have to water it. However, bunnies like sweet potato vine. So I can't put that in a low maintenance category. If you have not tried coral sedum, you need to. It is an annual for me, unfortunately. Is it called Angelina sedum, is a perennial, and it looks similar, not quite as bright and chartreuse as these. These are so drought tolerant, you don't have to do anything. You plant them and they grow, that's it. And they add such an amazing pop of color. And right next to them is Gonfrina that actually started from seed. I think one of these is a buddy variety, and I think the other one's atomic purple. I do protect them from bunnies, but as far as drought tolerant, oh my goodness, I don't touch them. I don't touch them. I wish I didn't have budding issues with them because they are so drought tolerant. I would put them everywhere. Now, that said, I have just recently taken the cloches off, and that's how I protect it from the bunnies, because bunnies like it when it's young. I guess it has sweeter, fresher leaves. I don't know. But once they're this size, they usually leave them alone. I've not had them touch them once they're this size. So just a really, really low maintenance. Next to a little more high maintenance. This is plum veined mini vista Supertunia. I have 3 of them here. I don't even want to call it high maintenance because it's so easy for me. I have this space, and then I have an area that I have 3 white mini vista Supertunias, and that's it in the landscape. So I don't really consider them high maintenance because it doesn't take me very long to care for them. In addition to the petunias needing potentially extra water, some fertilizer, I have 3 hydrangeas in this bed. I have 2 bobos, one right there. I have another one that's behind the opalescence phlox right there. And you can see how small it is. And then I have, this is a limelight standard. Ooh, she is a beauty. However, hydrangeas love water. So for all the water-wise, drought-tolerant plants I have here, the hydrangeas are not. So I do, if we don't get an inch of rain once a week, I will do a deep watering for each of those hydrangeas. And I wish I didn't have to. I wish there was an easier way. I love this standard here, and it is absolutely beautiful when it blooms. Interestingly, I have a lot of bobos in my back garden area, which isn't quite as sunny. It's amazing to me how small these have actually stayed. And I do think it's because they're just more stressed than the bobo hydrangeas that I have in the back. Because, you know, it's just seriously like full sun from early in the morning till evening. It's still hot in the evening. So they do take extra work and extra care. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more like it, I'd love it if you subscribed. Have an absolutely magnificent day.